some so-called experts, analysts who say that you should come to them because they're going to make you money, they're saying that now is the time to buy Lucid stock. Seriously. The price is down. It's way down from its original highs, and Lucid, well, they're about to hit the big time. Well, there's two big reasons why Lucid are in a lot of trouble. In fact, three. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. Great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Now, I take no pleasure in trashing Lucid because that's what I'm about to do. But to tell you the truth, I have to do that. I mean, realistically, there's no point making things up. I don't call this channel the make things up channel. I mean, that's what a lot of YouTube is. That's what a lot of the media is. Just make stuff up, have some fun, and, you know, hopefully people click on it as many times as you can get, and then you'll make more money because they'll click because it'll be just made up. My boys, they watch YouTube channels like that. They make up stuff on there all the time. My son literally thought that Elon Musk had discovered a new species of dinosaur. Like, these YouTube channels, they say this stuff like it's real, it's true. And the funny thing is, CNBC, these sort of networks, they sort of do the same thing, just in a different way. Try to make it sound more legitimate. Well, the reality here is that Lucid is in big trouble for three reasons. The first of those is this. They've just fired 1,300 staff. That's a massive percentage of their workforce. Massive. They've discounted the price of their cars. They have offered massively discounted prices to their existing employees, the ones that are left behind. And now they have to recall almost every electric car they've sold because, well, I reported on this fact months ago. For some reason, Lucid didn't do anything about it. They just decided to keep selling the cars, but they're bricking themselves. There's problems with the motors. There's problems with the cars. Yeah, I'm sorry. I actually really like this brand. I like the products they make. They're amazing, but they need to be saved. They need someone to come along and acquire them. Probably the Chinese will end up doing it. I don't know if the US government will allow that, but that's probably what will happen. I don't know if the Saudi Arabian government has deep enough pockets for this mess. Now, if you're new, Saudi Arabia owns a very big percentage of Lucid. And if you haven't seen lately, Lucid stock, well, it IPO'd for $9.60. So if you bought it then and held it till now, you wouldn't have lost too much. But if you had bought the stock in November of 2021 at a high of $53 US, well, today it's worth $7.70. I'm surprised it's worth that much. A lot of analysts have said you should buy big on Lucid. They are the next Tesla. Well, I'm looking at the stock price right now. While I'm talking to you right now, it's actually gone down by 1%. That's not too bad. Personally, if I had any stock in Lucid, I can't understand. I mean, why would anyone own stock in Toyota? Why would anyone own stock in Lucid? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Lucid is now having problems, serious problems, with their cars suddenly losing power. Now, the thing is here, it's not a budget car. The average transaction price is around $100,000. So these are not the kind of customers who have the patience for this kind of thing. And they're not early adopters. It's not like you're buying the first Tesla Model S going, yeah, you know what, I'm an early adopter. I understand there's going to be some teething problems. This is not that year. It's not 2013. It's not 2012. This is 2023. Lucid has issued a recall for 637 examples of the Lucid Air sedan due to a faulty switch in the electric motor that could lead to a complete loss of power. The problem has been traced to the contactors defined in the National Highway Transportation Safety Agency NHTSA recall documents as electrically activated switches that close at vehicle startup to transfer energy to and from the drive units and open at vehicle shutdown. Now, this is not the only Lucid problem their cars are facing. Apparently, the screens can go blank, just black out completely, which is obviously an issue when you don't have a manual speedometer. You know, everything's digital. If it all goes black, yeah, you don't know what's going on. Obviously, you don't know what speed you're going. Basically, the cars are not drivable. So that's another issue they're facing. There's quite a number of issues. Actually, I'm not going to get into them all here, but if you want to know about them, I'll put a link in the description to my previous video addressing some of those challenges that Lucid are facing. Lucid and Sensata Technologies, the supplier that manufactures the contactors, concluded that in a small population of contactors, they said this, a small population, like they're people or something, the spring force may overcome the magnetic holding force, resulting in the switch opening and cutting power to the electric motors. The automaker says it began investigating the problem in May 2022, nearly a year ago. Why keep selling them? Anyway, when one Air sedan lost power and was brought to a service center, at the time technicians had to observe the contactor openings during startup manually. Later, Lucid released a clever over-the-air update that, among other things, had the ability to diagnose which vehicles had the defect based on whether the contactor was opening. It's quite smart that they did that. After analysing the fleet data, Lucid determined 232 custom vehicles exhibited double dip signatures at least 5% of the time, which provides a greater than 99.99999% confidence interval for capturing affected contactors. In February, Lucid's tech department concluded that an unreasonable risk to safety exists in vehicles with double dip current signatures at least 5% of the time. An unreasonable risk to safety in a pretty large percentage of the cars they've delivered, at least 5% of the time. This can be serious because if a contactor opens unexpectedly while driving, the vehicle's electric motors will no longer be supplying power. This may lead to a sudden loss of propulsion without any warning and may increase the risk of a crash. This has been a bit of a debacle because Lucid owners have been talking about this stuff on forums and over the internet now for a long time. It was happening to them and they weren't getting the answers they wanted. Out of these 637 vehicles being recalled, 273 were actually identified thanks to the over-the-air update. With at-risk contactors, 336 other vehicles are being recalled because their owners have not done the over-the-air update, so it's impossible to know if they're equipped with defective contactors. I think basically the owners are just going, get lost, take the car back. Maybe they're not, but I've heard some of them say that. Owners will need to bring their cars to a Lucid service center where their contact switches will be swapped out and replaced free of charge. Some owners have already been notified, while the remaining owners will hear from Lucid in April, or now when this video comes out, or yesterday when this news came to the media publicly. Now, the Lucid Air saw its first recall a little over a year ago for a faulty front strut damper in the air suspension. 203 units were affected. The second recall from last May, however, was for every single Air on the road, which was 1,117, because of potential interior screen failure, which I talked about. 3 recalls in just 1 year isn't really that many, but those 3 have been pretty serious. I mean, the average recall is for things that you can keep driving the car, it doesn't really matter. I've received recalls for various cars over the years and I've just ignored a lot of them. But these are the kind of things where, you don't have much choice. You do have to take your car back to get it fixed. Even though it's not that many, it is a big problem because the Lucid is a brand new automaker. These are their new early adopters who are willing to pay a lot of money for a luxury car. And the Air is in its first ever model. So this is at a time when building a reputation for reliability is extremely important, obviously. So the brand will want to ensure as few complications or issues as it possibly can in the future. But it just fired a lot of its engineers and a huge percentage of its workforce. So that's the challenge here. How do they actually prevent this stuff happening in the future if their workforce is now being slashed by 30%? I don't know. Maybe they just fired the ones who made all the mistakes. Maybe. So why are Lucid actually laying off 1,300 staff? Well, the reason is because they now realize Elon Musk was right. It's hard to make money and they need to cut costs. They're not the only ones, doing this. General Motors is doing it. Ford's doing it. People say Tesla is doing it, but that's actually not actually true. Tesla has hired way more people than it has fired. It's worth pointing that out because the media has given the false impression that the inverse is the case when it's not. So Lucid is laying off around 20% of its workforce. And the company previously announced that it produced 7,180 Air sedans last year, which it says meant that it exceeded its annual production guidance of 6,000 to 7,000 vehicles, but delivered just 4,370. Yeah. How is this legit? Like, I could just say, hey guys, I sell these drinks and I made 7,180 of these this year. That's all you need to know. Doesn't matter if I only delivered 2 of them to customers. All that matters is that I made 7,180 of them. I don't understand how companies can get away with this kind of bizarre reporting. What matters is the customer getting the car. So why are half the cars not delivered to customers by the end of the year? That's so strange. I don't understand that. Now, the other thing I have an issue with is they're saying they hit their guidance, or they exceeded their guidance of 6,000 to 7,000. Well, their guidance at the beginning of the year was 20,000. Then it went down to 16. Then it went down to 12. Then it went down to 6,000 to 7,000. So then by the end of the year, it delivered only 4,000. They're able to say they exceeded their guidance because they produced, apparently, there's no way of proving this. They're saying, trust us, we produced this many cars. Now, if you're still an investor of Lucid after watching this video, well, I tried. Now, the reality is, at the beginning of last year, in order to entice shareholder interest, mainly I'd say, Lucid said they had a production goal of 21,815 vehicles. And analysts said that's what they would deliver. I looked at analyst predictions and they're all pretty much in line with those numbers. They're all around 20 to 24,000 cars, while they delivered just over 4,000. I really don't think it's worth listening to these analysts anymore. Here's what Lucid's CEO said. We are taking continued steps to manage our costs by reviewing all non-critical spending at this time. But keep in mind, the Lucid Air starts at a base price. It's now been discounted to $87,400. That vehicle has a very impressive 410 miles of range, or 660 kilometers, 480 horsepower, and it'll do 0 to 60 miles an hour in only 3.8 seconds. It's awesome. There's an even cooler version, the Lucid Air Sapphire, and that has a tri-motor setup. It's very similar to the Tesla Model S Plaid, which delivers 1,200 horsepower, allowing it to accelerate to 60 miles an hour in around 2 seconds. It has a top speed of 200 miles an hour. I don't think I'd be willing to go that fast in any car, but hey, it can do it. That vehicle costs $249,000 US. So there's not really, to be honest, that many customers in the market for a sedan costing $90,000 to $250,000 US. Tesla know that. That's why they don't sell many Tesla Model S's. That's why they never planned on producing, mass manufacturing Model S's, making big production lines like they do for the Model 3 and the Model Y, because the market just isn't there. I really don't understand why Lucid thought they should start with sedans. Clearly, the prestige car market is in SUVs. Globally, that's where the sales are. That's where the trend is. That's why I don't think Lucid has a whole lot of chance of succeeding in the future. And in fact, that's not the only reason. The other reason is likely we're about to see a big recession, led by the Chinese economy and the ongoing crisis in the automotive industry in China, which is not really being reported by global media, where more than 2,500 dealerships have already declared bankruptcy. Only 20% of dealers in China made a profit over the past 12 months. Now they're slashing the price of their cars to way below the costs because they have until July to get rid of them. It's going to be a tsunami, and it will absolutely affect Lucid. It'll affect every car maker. Therefore, only the strong are likely to survive. That's what I think. Put your money in the safest place for the next few months, or in the next 12 months. That would be my suggestion. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.